Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. So today's topic, well, actually, before I do, it's funny that when I'm here in portrait, because I upload the videos, the video recordings in landscape. So what you can't see in portrait, but what you could see in landscape is that Frank is over here, and he's peaceful. I'm sure he won't be over time, so I might show him. I might grab him and put him in front of the camera later, but for now, just let him rest. He looks really sweet and peaceful over there, so I won't bother him right now. Today's topic is letting go and moving forward. And letting go is one of the 9 attitudes of mindfulness, of MBSR. So it's featured in the course. It's the attitude that I think it comes right after acceptance. And I think that that's appropriate. And it doesn't only link with acceptance. It does link with a lot of the other attitudes. But just the fact that we go from acceptance to letting go, to me, is a logical progression, because it's hard to let go of where we are when we don't know where we are, or of, it's more than just letting go of where we are. There's there's a lot to letting go that, well, anyway, let me get into it. Letting go, a lot of people may think of as detachment or apathy, but what it is, and I'll write it here, is engaged acceptance. So it's staying connected without clinging. And I think that's another really great word here, is that letting go, if you think of, and I hold my fists really tight, right? If you think of clinging as this really tight grasping, so letting go is the opposite of that. So when you're grasping onto something tightly versus letting go and releasing. And in fact, this gesture, just feel what this feels like, right? Clench your fist tightly, and then maybe as you exhale, just see what it's like just to allow your hand to open. And take note of what that feels like, because that kind of physical sensation of letting go is something that happens as we let go of a lot of things. So letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. It means instead that we stop insisting that things be a certain way, or we stop insisting that things be a certain way before we allow ourselves to experience peace. So, in fact, seems like this is another one I think worth pasting into the chat. So, I got this story that I just wanted to tell about this. That I thought this story just worked so well. It was in one of my MBSR teacher trainings. So MBSR is mindfulness-based stress reduction. It is, the 9 attitudes are taught to us as teachers in that course. And there was a story that someone told. I think it was Florence Melio-Mayer, who's the kind of the lead teacher of teaching MBSR. And it's a story about someone who, and this, the way, I assume it's a true story, the way she told it, it's always, it's like comedians tell these not true stories just for the impact. But I think that the way that she told it, I really believed it was real. It was about a person who really wanted to understand what letting go meant, and wanted to use an object lesson for themselves. And so what they did is they decided they were going to climb a mountain, and they were going to do it carrying this big canvas bag, and inside the bag they were going to fill the bag with a bunch of rocks. So just dozens of heavy rocks. And so each rock was a representation of something that they were holding on to, like an old hurt, fears, expectations, guilt, pride, control, whatever it was that was weighing on their mind, the naming each of these rocks that they're putting in the bag. And they thought to themselves, if I can carry this to the top, I'll finally understand all the weight that I've been holding. I'll really understand what clinging means and what letting go means. And so they began to climb. And step by step, right, this bag is really heavy. And that this journey is getting harder as time goes on, because this individual is just getting exhausted climbing up this mountain with this bag of heavy rocks that is supposed to symbolically represent everything that they're clinging to. And so they began to climb. And as they, after climbing for several hours, they finally said to themselves, like, this is absurd. What am I doing? Why am I carrying this? Who said I have to carry this? Like, I can let go right here and right now. And they dropped the bag and they gave up their empty quest and realized in this moment, it isn't about dragging your burden higher. I mean, that's not what letting go is all about. It's about realizing you can set it down right where you are right now. You can let go of all of the things that you can let go of these things that are troubling you. You never needed to reach the top of the mountain to learn the lesson. And so the insight is that in that moment, I don't have to be holding on anymore. And so the story always kind of reminds me of the fact that we end up turning our self-improvement into yet another kind of burden. That self-improvement becomes the next thing. We keep carrying our bag during our self-improvement, our stories, our judgments, our perfectionism, thinking that we'll find peace at the top once we've finally earned it. But mindfulness invites us to pause and ask, and to notice how that feels, what that weight is like, and ask ourselves, well, what if I can set that down even for one breath? That's letting go. So, Jean says, acceptance and letting go. When I was wrestling with my Merlin's decline, and Jean's just referring to the fact that she lost one of her cats recently. And ultimately, the decision to assist in his passing brought about the serenity prayer mantra in my mind of acceptance. May I have the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Letting go. Thanks, Jean, for sharing. And Nicola says, I had to let go of my late sister who hurt me, but I had rapid forgiveness. Thanks, Nicola, for sharing. So, letting go is a process. Letting go isn't something that happens instantly, but we have access to that present moment, right? That in the present moment, the past isn't here. The future has not yet arrived. And in the present, like, this is what's here now. And I think that's maybe the mantra for letting go, right? Or for mindfulness in general. This is the moment. This is what's here right now. And I don't have to be burdened by everything that was in the past. And I don't have to be burdened by what is not yet arrived here in the future. And so what makes letting go so challenging is that we tend to hold on to things that are connected to us. And I mean, I think that's a really strong, it's a really strong piece of what clinging is about, is that we hold on to the things that we think we need to be and the things that we think we are, what our roles are, expectations for ourselves and our lives, for our stories, for our outcomes. This even, and I can already feel how it ties into all of the other attitudes. And we have some belief. If I let go of this, what remains? Who am I without this? We end up defining ourselves by these things, by our roles, by our identities, by our stories, by our expectations. And we can't let go because of this desire for our ego. And I think this is the key here as well, is that the ego wants to be in control. The ego is doing the holding, and often it's the holding on to something that we need to let go of that is causing the pain. And mindfulness ties in here well, because we can't let go of something we haven't first held with awareness. And it's something that you can experience every single time you meditate. That when we meditate, I don't know about your meditations, but my meditations are always filled with all kinds of thoughts. As much as I sit silently and sit in stillness and in silence, it is impossible. And maybe that's what causes those things to rise up. It's impossible for things to not rise up inside of my mind. That all kinds of things that are important and things that aren't important show up. And they're distracting, and they pull my attention away from my breath. And I've discovered that the moment that I can be aware that that thought has entered my mind, that awareness gives me the capacity to let go. And so I'll encourage you, as we're going to shift into the meditation today, to use this noticing what it is that's drawn my attention away, and to see if there's some possibility through that awareness to be able to let go. So this is something that, of course, we unpack a bit more deeply inside the Nine Attitudes course. So if you haven't checked out the course, I would encourage you to give it a try. I've put a lot of effort into making this course really applicable to daily life, and I think that's pretty, and that's one of the reasons why I think a lot of people will be able to benefit from it. So, what can we let go of is our expectations of ourselves. What's our commentary about ourselves? I should be more consistent, or expectation of others, they should understand, or of outcomes, this should have worked by now. Why didn't this work out the way that I expected? So this is something that we tend to hold on to so much, that perfection. I mean, I don't know if you have any experience with perfectionism, but there is this desire for everything to be perfect and to be right. And so, this is part of judgment. Every time we notice judgment, we can return to the breath. And this is a part of the process of letting go. And so letting go connects with non-judging. So I'm just going to help to, as we talk about the 9 attitudes. Letting go pairs with non-judging by helping to soften our resistance. So it's hard to let go if we're still judging what's happening and what's going on and what our thoughts are, right? Like, why can't I let go of this? Why haven't I let go of this already? Patience gives time for things to unfold. Trust allows for surrender. Acceptance prepares the ground for letting go. And gratitude and generosity are what help to fill that space once there's the emptiness that we may feel from letting go. So No striving, no striving is perfection. No, striving is perfectionism. Is that what you're saying, Rachel? Oh, no, from the autocorrect. Yes, striving is perfectionism, wanting that desire for especially the outcome to be a particular way. And Jean says, I've been hesitant to start day 5. Trust. I struggle with it, so I resist, and I know that which we resist persists. Boy, I really hope you take trust. I think, to be honest, I think that's one of the most that's the most personal lesson, because I also struggled with trust, and that's probably the one that I really that was the most personal to me. I'd say I think I put a lot of me in that one. So I hope you'll try it soon. Okay. That's it. That's about letting go. And I guess, the name of this session is letting go and moving forward. And, moving forward to me is almost implied that once you've let go, there's nothing to do but to move forward. Right? The next step of the path becomes clear, in meditation. I know what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get back to, I'm trying to stay focused. I'm trying to come back to my breath. So the moment I let go, it's clear where it is that I come back to and what's there. What that next, trusting that next trapeze bar is going to be there when I let go of the one I'm holding on to. I think that's, I'm not going to read the full parable of the trapeze today, but I think that's a fantastic lesson on letting go and trust, and just trusting that when we let go, that next thing is going to be there for us. So anyway, enough talking. Let's get into today's practice. So get comfortable. Find a comfortable posture. Today we're going to be focusing on the breath, because I just feel that meditating on the breath is so applicable to letting go. So if you like, allowing your eyes to close, crown of the head towards the ceiling. You can roll the shoulders a few times, move the head around, just to help invite a little bit more relaxation into the body. As the main point of the posture is to combine relaxation and alertness. And there actually is a component of dignity. That this feeling of dignity that comes with the posture of sitting up straight and tall can be very supportive. It can help keep us more focused in practice as we feel this dignified posture. I would encourage you to bring your back away from the backrest if you have the capacity to do so. If you're sitting on a chair, maybe sitting forward in the chair near the edge, letting the feet rest flat on the floor. Hands resting on the knees or in the lap, or wherever is comfortable for you, just somewhere that's going to free your shoulders from any of the burden of holding your arms up. Just letting your arms just hang like heavy curtains. And let me first allow me to invite you to bring your awareness to your face. Do you find any tension in the face? So just be aware of it. And sometimes in that awareness of tension, we can let go of it. We can invite ease into the body. And now the shoulders, the neck. Is there any tension here? And again, just connecting to non-striving. There's no need to try to make the tension go away. Sometimes tension's just here, and that's perfectly okay. So I'll just invite you to roll out the red carpet. Welcome whatever is here right now, whatever thoughts may be bombarding the mind. And pushing them away is what makes them stay. See if you can just open your arms, figuratively, or maybe even literally, to whatever is here in this moment right now. And now I'd like to invite you to bring your awareness to your abdomen. Feeling the gentle movement of the abdomen as you breathe. The belly rising and falling with each breath. See if you can open yourself up to this awareness of breath. Expand your awareness to notice all of the tiny details about what breathing feels like. As you breathe in, the belly expands, the skin stretches. As you breathe out, the skin relaxes, the abdominal wall moves back towards the spine. So explore, where do you feel the breath and where do you not feel the breath? And I mean, what part of the body doesn't move with the breath? So, I mean, you can go to your extremities, the toes. My toes are not moving as I breathe. And as we draw closer and closer to the abdomen, so maybe in the region of the pelvis, there may still be some movement with the breath. So what about the side body? Can you feel expansion and contraction in the lower back? Can you feel the chest rising and falling? And then as I examine my hands aren't moving. But up at my shoulders, there's some slight movement. So can we really explore the breath with beginner's mind? Maybe noticing things about the breath that we've never noticed before and using that interest in the breath to help keep the mind focused. And fully examining the inhale. How does the body and mind feel? What is the state while I am inhaling? And as we exhale, and so the inhale brings in fresh air. Fresh oxygen, which our bodies need. The exhale releases carbon dioxide, other waste products of metabolism. And so every exhale is a kind of cleansing, a kind of purging from the body what is no longer needed and no longer useful. And so if you think you don't know how to let go, the obvious sign of your ability to let go lies right here in your breath that's happening 20 times per minute. That's how often we're letting go. And so that feeling of release, that feeling of ease, that feeling of exhaling, that's what letting go feels like. So there are so many things in this world, in this life to cling to. just remember what letting go feels like. So fully present with the inhalation, fully present with the exhalation. As best we can, staying present with the feeling of breathing. And so often the inner monologue comes in. Our minds have some opinion about what's going on, or we're interrupted by thoughts about the past or the future, or daydreaming. Awareness gives us that moment to accept, to notice, hey, here's what happened. That's the awareness that builds the path for letting go. So once we've noticed, this is where my mind is, that awareness gives us the capacity to open our hand to whatever it is we may be clinging to release it. And return to the breath. Return to the present. Now it's time for us to draw our practice to its natural close. So this also is part of letting go. Every time we transition from one thing to another, we're letting go of what was, opening the path to what is to be. I'll close practice with 3 rings of the bell. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for sharing this space with me today and being here with each other. How'd it go today? What was the meditation like? I think that was that ending was just kind of this remembrance and realization for me that every time we're shifting from one thing to another, there's a letting go. I mean, there's so much practice. There's so much available for us. Right, Frank? Frank's full of wisdom, believe it or not. He's my meditating cat. What's he share is Frank doesn't overthink. Frank doesn't decide when it's time to nap or when it's time to play or when it's time to ask for food. He just follows whatever is needed, and that's his wisdom and his simplicity. Yeah, here we go. Just one more shameless cameo. Oh, he's purring too. I wish I could put him up to the mic so you could hear it. So lots of distraction. Yeah, cats are the best, are good meditators, It's like cats, it's that simplicity, right? I mean, I think this is the thing that we kind of forget sometimes. It's just like, and I've said this, I haven't said this in a long time. Oh, thanks, Gene. Thank you, Gene, for your donation. Is from my second meditation retreat. I remember one of the participants asked, "How can I be more mindful in my daily life?" Right? Of like I can't do it. How do I be more mindful in my daily life? Simplify your life. I mean, he thought for a good, 30 seconds before he answered that. But that was it. Simplify your life. That's the way to do it. You want to be more mindful in daily life. Like, just keep things simple and have the wisdom of a cat. Thank you, Rachel, for your donation. Okay. I'm going to do... Thanks, Sybil, so much for saying that. That helps. I do appreciate any feedback in all of the chat interactions, because it does help me to know, what's landing and what's not. And sometimes I don't know if what I'm teaching is landing well or not. If you don't, so. I'm teaching 3 times today. This is my first of 3. It's all the same topic. The idea is to have different have the same topic taught at different times for people who are awake at different times or who are available at different times. The main idea as well is to let everybody know that I go deeper into the 9 Attitudes in the 9 Attitudes course. So one of the things that you can do that is, of course, very helpful is follow me on Insight Timer if you don't already. And that follow card is, it's somewhere probably around here, I want to guess. And then if you haven't taken my course yet, which I do know it's a premium. It's a Insight Timer Plus. If you haven't subscribed, try the free trial. Try out my course during the free trial, because it's, I don't know if it's the best course on Insight Timer, but it's one of the best. So I really encourage you to take it. And so far, everybody's the feedback I've got on the course and the classroom comments have all been really great. And it's like it helps to affirm me as a teacher, but it also lets me know that, hey, it's good. It's a quality course. So give it a try. Rachel says, my meditation today was so messy. Some of my thoughts, I don't know where they came from. And you know what? And that's the great thing. You don't have to know where your thoughts come from. In fact, don't bother trying to figure out where they come from. I can't even share the ridiculously of some of the thoughts that I have. So sometimes I think that our thoughts all have a reason for showing up. No matter how ridiculous they are, it really is revealing about something going on in the subconscious. And you don't have to analyze, you don't have to figure out what it is, because it's going to happen a lot. That's the encouragement to meditate often, so we can explore this dark closet of a cobweb-filled place, so that we can clean it out and we don't have to understand where everything comes from. It's just that process of seeing it and letting it go has so much impact. So thanks, Rachel, for sharing. My life is so complex, I don't know how to simplify. I guess start with your mind. See if you can simplify your mental processes a little bit. Be more like Frank. Angie says, my mind wandered too much today, but it was easy to let go and return. And I guess I want to highlight too much is that's, and don't judge yourself as I say this, but that's a judgmental thought. So see if you can let go of your judging as well. Thoughts are just thoughts. Our brains are made to think. They can't help themselves. Thanks so much, Jean. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure hosting today's session. And I will be back in a few hours to host another session. So, feel free to join in and say hi or sit for the whole thing. It's totally up to you. I'm heading, today's my last day of teaching live events for a little while, because I am headed to a Zen monastery for my annual retreat. So I'll be away during that time. But I trust that you'll keep up your practice. So keep it going, and let's end our practice today with some well wishes. So repeat after me if you like. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening today, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. And may all sentient life, all human beings, everyone, everywhere, no matter who they are, I wish for them happiness and peace. Thanks so much, everybody. Last time I talked about trusting the process of change. So trust is one of those 9 attitudes of mindfulness. And those 9 attitudes are, and if you take the course, you realize you don't need to memorize them. But of course, I've talked about them so many times, I can't help but have memorized them. They're non-striving, patience, beginner's mind, trust, non-striving, acceptance, letting go, gratitude, and generosity. And so what I've wanted to do as I promoted the course is to talk about one of those attitudes a little bit more, so that you can kind of get oriented as to what this is about. So last time we talked about trust in ourselves. And that's really what trust is about. Trust is more about trusting ourselves, because that's the foundation of real trust for things outside of ourselves. If you can't learn to trust yourself, how are you going to be able to rely on things outside of you? Because there's always, no matter what happens, you are, I mean, if you're trying to trust something external to you, that thing that's external to you has some interface with you. So, without trusting that I know myself and I know how my body works, how my mind works, how my emotions work to some degree, how can I trust that this outside thing that I'm probably less familiar with than myself is going to be able to support me when I don't even know what the me is that it would be supporting? And so that's really what I think is at the core of trust. And so, the other thing about trust is that there's in change, and I think that's what I've been talking about in the last couple months in the live events, is that there's always this kind of transition that's happening in change, right? So I'm using my hands here to kind of represent grasping onto trapeze bars, So if you're swinging on trapeze bars, today's topic's about letting go, so you have to be able to let go of that bar. But the other thing is that you have to trust that there's going to be that bar in front of you. And so that's really just kind of a summary of an analogy of the process of change and how trust relates to it. So today's topic is letting go. And letting go is, again, one of the 9 attitudes of mindfulness-based stress reduction. It is the attitude that, not that the order of attitudes matters that much, but in this one, it matters a little bit more because it comes directly after acceptance. Because I feel like letting go and acceptance, I'd say of all the 9 attitudes, these are probably the 2 that are most interrelated with each other. Acceptance, just to briefly cover what that means, is knowing where you are, knowing what you are, knowing what's going on, and being accepting that this is the case. This is reality. This is what I am experiencing. This is my situation right now. I would say the easiest way to define acceptance is through its opposite, which is denial. So it's really easy for us to see things that are unpleasant, or to see our life and to wish that our life was different than how it is. And that really, and maybe not even more than wishing, right? Not just wishing that our life is different than the way it is, but lying to ourselves in a way and believing that it is true, that our life is genuinely already different than what it is. And so it's hard to make change when we can't accept how we are right now. We can't accept what the truth of this reality is that we're experiencing and our experience of that reality. So that is kind of a precursor to letting go, because how can you let go of something that you can't admit is there? And that's really how acceptance moves into letting go. So what is letting go? I think that's maybe the first part to define well. Is it's the opposite of clinging. And so just defining things by their opposites, and it can be easy, right? Can be an easier way to look at them. So, in fact, you can even look physically what this looks like for you. And in fact, I would encourage you to give this a try, right? Take your hand, clasp your hand, make a fist, right? Imagine you've got, something really precious in here that you don't want anyone to get. It's a diamond, let's say, right? So you're clutching it, you're holding it like this, right? And so don't worry about what's in your palm, but instead notice the feeling that this creates, right? Just bring your attention into this fist. I can feel my fingernails digging into my palm, okay? And so what's this feel like? And now, on an exhalation, so while you're exhaling, see what it's like to slowly open your hand. And so that is just a little analogy of letting go, the opposite of clinging. So it's natural for us to want to cling on to things in our lives. That this is something that I'm used to. This is something that I'm comfortable with, even if it's not healthy for me. It's something that I want to grasp onto because that's what I do. Like grasping it's just in human nature. We grasp at everything that we live in our lives. We grasp at life itself. The idea of letting go of life is scary to think about, right? It's because that's the human condition. The human condition is to want to hold on to all of the things that we have or that we perceive that we have. So letting go isn't giving up. It's giving space for what's already unfolding. So I think that's a really key to understand is, and I'll write it in the chat here, letting go is creating space. And that really is part of what letting go is about. It's letting go of this version of me to make room for the new version of me. And so whatever that might be, it could be, transitioning into a new job or new career. It could be transitioning out of an unhelpful relationship into a better one. Or out of an unhelpful relationship into a healthier relationship with myself, if nothing else. There are all kinds of things that we want to grasp and we want to cling to. And what's interesting when we look at this as well is sometimes it's not even the thing that we're clinging to. It's the idea of the thing. It's what that thing brought me in the past. What that was like is something that can be very challenging to release. And as we release, we begin to make space for whatever that new thing is to come. So it's not about losing control. It's about releasing the illusion that we ever fully had control of anything anyway. So that's a part of what letting go. So letting go isn't detachment or apathy. And I think that's important to understand as well, is that sometimes letting go maybe feels something like that it's I'm turning my back, I'm in denial, and I think that I'm just not looking at this and I'm hoping that it goes away by my not perceiving it. And this isn't what letting go is about. In fact, acceptance helps us, as the foundation, as the groundwork of letting go. We know that denial and avoidance isn't helpful and isn't going to help in this journey of moving forward. Instead, it is staying connected without clinging. So it's like the way we hold sand in our hands, right? If you grasp it too tightly, the sand squeezes out between your fingers. And so letting go doesn't mean we stop caring either. It means we stop insisting things to be a certain way before we allow ourselves peace. So I've got a little story that I told in this morning session, and I want to tell it again. I was on one of my MBSR, my mindfulness-based stress reduction teacher trainings, and our instructor told a story. It was a story that someone else had told to her. That it was someone had told her a personal experience, which was that they were to let go of what was going on in the past. They felt they needed to do this exercise. And the exercise went like this. They really wanted to understand deeply about letting go, and not just as the idea of it, but the experience. So what they did is they took a big canvas bag and they started to fill that bag up with rocks, big, heavy rocks, and lots of them. And so each rock was meant to represent something that they were holding on to, like an old hurt or fears or expectations or guilt, pride, desire to be in control, whatever it was that was weighing on their minds. And they thought, I'll take this bag and I'll carry it up to the top of a mountain. And when I'm at the top of the mountain, then I finally can let go of it. And when I'm at the top, I'll place these stones in a stack, and then I'll be free of them, and I can walk away and I can let them be there, right? And so this was the idea, and they began to climb. And as they were climbing, the sack was heavy, and their back was hurting, and they're having a hard time, feeling really exhausted, and they just came to this realization in this moment that no one told me to do this. Like, this is something that I'm doing because I think I need to do it. And realized in their sweat and frustration, and they finally laughed to themselves and said, this is absurd. Why am I doing this? Why do I have to climb a mountain with a bag of rocks to be able to let go? And they just dropped the bag and said, this is it. I can let go right here and right now. And so they understood letting go isn't about dragging your burdens to the top. It's not about it. What it is about is that we can let go right here and right now. You don't need to reach the top of the mountain to learn the lesson. The insight arrived in an instant because they were able to release what is no longer serving them. So self-improvement is kind of like that in some ways, right? We keep carrying the bag. We can't let go of our stories, our judgments, our perfectionism. We think that once we finally reach the top, then we've earned it and we're going to get the peace that we've desired. But mindfulness, on the other hand, invites us to pause halfway up, notice the weight, and ask, what can I set down, even for one breath? That's letting go. And you do it every time you breathe. And as we get into the meditation here shortly, in a few more minutes, we will experience letting go moment by moment. Because, believe it or not, you're already letting go all of the time. And you're doing it in many, many times a day. And so this is the practice. Practicing letting go of the small things. Once we get used to releasing the small things, then it's not as big of a deal to release the big things. So where can we practice letting go? Letting go of expectations, letting go of past stories. What did we experience? What did we experience in the past that we still cling to, that we still wish things were like this? How about the future? The anxiety that we have of whatever it is that's to come. And I think we can trust in the present, knowing that we're doing, as long as we are determined to do what we can to make the future as good as it can be for ourselves. What more is there to do? Is it possible to let go once we've done all the prep we can do? To just trust that the outcome is going to be whatever the outcome could be? Maybe even it's not the most ideal outcome in the world. After we see it, we look back and go, oh gosh, I wish things could have been better. But that was the result. And if you've already done all the preparation you can do, there's nothing more to do. And the outcome will be what it is. And you can let go. So that's trust, letting go, and acceptance all together. Expectations of ourselves. I should be more consistent. Expectation of others. They should understand. expectations of outcome. Why hasn't this worked by now? And letting go of our perfectionism, the constant sense that we're not doing it right, that, hey, I might as well not even try if I'm not going to do it 100%. So that's the story of letting go. Just like the trapeze bars, to be able to reach out and get that trapeze bar that's in front of us, we have to be able to let go of the one behind us. And that void, that moment that we're hurtling through space, hoping, praying for that next trapeze bar to be there, that's where the real growth happens. So encourage you, give it a shot. Give letting go a try. And we're going to do it here shortly. Good morning, Brian. Good evening. Good night. Good evening, Jean. How's it going? More often than not, it's, why didn't I try this sooner? Yeah, totally. Thanks, Jean. I'm struggling to let go of controlling parents who disrupt my peace, says Brian. And so what I'd like to offer you, Brian, is it possible for you to let go of your desire to change your parents' behavior? You know, that's maybe more of what we're getting at, is that the 9 attitudes aren't really about changing any of the circumstances around you. Not that you shouldn't try to change circumstances around you, right? The idea is to look at what can be done internally to yourself so that you can get more peace with the situation as it is. And so I hope that's helpful. Okay, I have more. I have more I want to say there, but I recognize that it's. Thanks, Brian. I have more I want to say, but I really want to get into the meditation. So let's do that. And if you have more comments and questions, let's follow up afterwards. So the meditation will be just a little under 20 minutes. So get comfortable. If you're sitting in a chair, would encourage you to bring your back away from the backrest. Just the idea here is to be fully alert, fully awake, fully alive, yet fully relaxed. So what posture is going to support you in that way today? One that you can be fully awake, fully alive, yet fully relaxed. So I'd encourage you to sit up straight. Place your hands somewhere that's comfortable. If you're sitting in a chair, maybe having your feet rest on the floor. If you're sitting on the floor, you can sit cross-legged if you like. Just sitting in any way that you can not only be awake, alert, and relaxed, but also can feel your breath moving through your body. And so as we're getting started, just want to invite you to bring your attention to your face. Do you feel any tension in your face? And if you do, can you accept that it's there? Don't try to wish it to go away. Sometimes, just through that noticing, through that awareness, we can let go. And we can see that that tension may dissolve all by itself, naturally. Now guiding attention into the neck and the shoulders. Are you finding any tension there? Again, not wishing it to go away. And part of acceptance is that welcoming. Welcome this tension because it is here now. It is part of your experience in this moment. And sometimes that open-armed welcoming is exactly what it needed to be able to be released. And so now let's move our attention down to the abdomen. And one thing that is hard to miss about the abdomen is that it's always moving. Most of the time we don't even notice it because we're so wrapped up in all of the other things that we're doing. So can we see the abdomen as it expands on the inhalation, contracts on the exhalation? How do you know the abdomen is expanding and contracting? Where can you feel that sensation? Is it around the navel? Can you feel your skin stretching? Can you feel your t-shirt brushing against your skin as you breathe in and breathe out and your abdomen changes shape? So, what can aid in concentration is really tuning into the details of physical sensation. As best you can, allow your beginner's mind to observe your breath. What would it be like if you never noticed you were breathing before, and now were the first time? Inhaling, followed by exhaling, followed by inhaling, followed by exhaling. It's this beautiful process that sustains us, that keeps us alive, exchanging gases with our external environment. When we breathe in, we're taking in oxygen, It's nourishing our bodies. When we breathe out, we're making space for that next in-breath. We're breathing in oxygen, nourishing, giving life. Breathing out, letting go of carbon dioxide and other waste products of metabolism. Yes, the body needs oxygen to survive, but we can't take in more oxygen if we don't let out the air that's spent. And so that's it. This transition, this simple transition, is a microcosm of every transition we have in our lives. The transition from inhaling to exhaling. So just take a few moments to really feel it. What does the inhale feel like? How does my mind, how does my body change as I'm inhaling? And then what does the exhale feel like? What's changing? So as best you can, following your breath, keeping your attention on that physical sensation of breathing for the next few minutes. Are you still focused on the breath, or has your mind wandered away? I just want to remind you that this mind wandering is a natural part of our meditation process. That you haven't done anything wrong. And that's an excuse I hear for so many people. Like, I can't meditate. My mind won't stay focused. Everybody's like that. The moment that you notice that your mind has wandered away, accept this is where I am. This is what has happened. And that acknowledgement, that awareness, that acceptance allows us to let go, to release that thought. Hey, wait a minute, I'm thinking about this now. I'm not focused on my breath. I can release it and then return my attention to the physical sensation of breath. Awareness is the first step. Only then can we let go. And then return to observing this process of taking in and releasing. Taking in and releasing. There's no space for the next breath if we can't let go of this breath. There's no space for us to focus on the breath if we're wandered away thinking about all kinds of other things. So the moment you notice, acknowledge, accept, release, return. Keep it up. You're doing great. Only a few more minutes to go. The rest of the meditation will be in silence. And I'll let you know right before we end. Congratulations, everybody, for making it through today's mindfulness practice. I'm going to close our practice with 3 rings of the bell. Thank you for practicing with me, and thanks for being here with everyone else as well. As always, a pleasure to host live events. How did it go? What was it like for you today? And we'll kind of get into the chat here shortly. One thing I wanted to say was, I know, Gene, you're in the Chicago area, and I was just thinking, sleep is about letting go. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're a night owl. I'm not judging here, and I think that's important as well for me to say to Brian, is that, there's no advice that I can give, and in fact, that's something as an MBSR teacher I'm taught, is to not give advice. That it's to give you the tools to learn what to do in your situation. And so, Gene, thank you, Michelle, for your donation. So maybe whatever, 3 a.m. is Gene's best time, so I don't want to, I don't want to tell you how to live your life by any means. But if it is a trouble sleeping situation, then part of what makes sleep difficult to come by is letting go. Is that grasping onto some thought that is there, or even the thought of like, why can't I sleep, right? Why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep? Like, that thought can be something that can be grasped onto. And it's just that, the idea, I've got to go to work tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I need to sleep now. It's like, the more we think about it, the harder it is to be able to get to sleep. Because, in that space, we're just not letting go. And sleep is one of those, if you let go every time you breathe out, you let go every time you fall asleep. There are so many instances of letting go that happen throughout the day. So, I just wanted to bring up sleep and insomnia as a part of letting go as well. Yeah, I sleep when I'm tired, but I do wake up too early some days and work on projects. It's just an analogy about letting go. So, I need to move on and accept I am an adult now and I don't need them. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, what's making you say that? Like what? And I try and think, like, how, what amount do I need from my parents as well? So it's just kind of like that investigation, and I'm not in your situation. I'm probably significantly older than you are, so my parents live halfway around the world, right? I'm here in Singapore and they're in the United States, so they don't try and control my life very much, and even if they did, it wouldn't be very effective, right? So, yeah, okay. Wow. And so they still have a lot of control. Thanks for sharing, Brian. So, thanks everybody for joining in today. If you haven't taken my course on the 9 Attitudes of Mindfulness, I'd love for you to take it. I'd love to be able to share that with you. It's been really a lot of fun so far. Looking at the classroom comments, responding with voice replies, really getting involved with everybody who's who's taking that course. It's really been a pleasure. And I guess I do want to say as well is that I'm about to go on meditation retreat. So I'll be leaving on Thursday, and I won't be I won't be able to respond to anything because I have I'm not able to talk during the meditation retreat. And of course I won't have internet access or anything like that either. So, love for you to be able to take the course. Yeah, yes, you do, Jean. Let go and start day 5, please. Let go of whatever ideas you have about trust and trust in yourself. Laura says, great to be aware of being in my body again. Thank you, Laura. Thanks for sharing. If you don't follow me on Insight Timer, that's kind of the very easiest first step that you can do. If you don't have a Plus subscription, then maybe it's not possible for you to take the course. But what you can do is you can keep coming back to my live events. You can try all the free tracks that I have, which I have to say they're not as polished as the course by any means, but they're still good to help you in your meditation. Thanks, Jean, for your donation. And yeah, all the best as you work on letting go of the things that aren't serving you and making room for what may serve you. Let's close practice the way that we do, with a little bit of generosity. So during our meditation, we cultivate our awareness. And one thing that happens as well is when we become aware of ourselves, we realize that there are a lot of people in this world that don't have the same or don't have awareness. I mean, even the same awareness as me. I'm not trying to say that I have amazing awareness just because I meditate. We all start in different places in our journey. So, let's say the top of the mountain is ultimate awareness. Some of us start at midway up the mountain. Some of us start a quarter of the way up the mountain. Some of us start at the bottom of the mountain, and some of us start underground. So it's a different challenge for everyone. And every time we meditate, we can remember that there are others in this world who want some of the same things we want: to be happy, to be peaceful, to be safe, to have resources. And so let's close our practice. No worries, Cassidy. It's great having you here. And Nelson says, I'm so used to be living for her, and now she passed on, and I feel empty and without purpose, sadly. And so this is very interesting to me that grieving has showed up in both of my live events so far. And grieving is it's a long process of letting go and acceptance and letting go. So, my well wishes for you, Nelson, and for everybody who's lost, who has lost someone or something, and it's been difficult to let go. So let's do the generosity part of our meditation, which is to share some well wishes with ourselves and with everybody else here. So repeat after me if you like. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are today, I wish you all happiness and peace. And may all human beings, everyone, everywhere, no matter what our feelings towards them may be, I wish them all happiness and peace. Thanks so much. The course is Cultivating the 9 Attitudes of Mindfulness. And this is a way to kind of deep dive into the 9 attitudes and to see how they're all interrelated. Maybe I should back up a step and go, what are the 9 attitudes? These are attitudes that you can bring to your not only meditation practice. What's nice about incorporating them into your meditation practice is that you'll begin to practice them in this simple environment. To me, that's what meditation is all about anyway. It's about practicing something in a very controlled setting. I kind of think of it like being a scientist. When you're running an experiment, you don't want to have all these other external things going on inside. You want your experiment to be as free from outside influences as possible. And that's really what the meditation space is like. And it gives us this way to, one of the reasons to choose a space that's silent as much as possible, and to sit still, is we're trying to minimize anything external. Even the reason we're still is to minimize what's going on in our mind to activate our bodies. So being still means there's no voluntary movement. We're not using our mind to move the body in any way. And so there's really nothing going on. And that gives us this space to observe what is going on, right? I guess that's the paradox of meditation, is that nothing's happening, but a lot's happening. Like from the outside observer, when they look at someone meditating, they may think, well, look at that. This was he asleep? What's going on? Is there anything really going on there? And then if you've meditated before, you will probably know that there is actually a lot that's going on. That this is not, as much as everything else is still, this piece of meat between our ears doesn't stay very still. So when we are meditating, as thoughts are coming up, as experiences are coming up, there are ways that we may want to react to them by default. And so the 9 attitudes give us a different framework to see what's going on. And, who cares? Who cares about what happens in the meditation practice? That the point is what we're doing in this experimental window is something that we can pull out. Just like we don't typically do scientific experiments for fun, there is some practical application, hopefully, that comes out of many failed experiments. Come with one that maybe gives us the cure for cancer. How is penicillin developed, right? All of these things happen through that experimental process, and then we can apply it into our daily life. And that's what the 9 attitudes do. So we apply them in our meditation practice, and that helps bring those out of our meditation practice into our daily lives. So welcome, Lewis. Great to have you here. And thank you for announcing that you're from Thailand. It's great to have another person in, I guess you're not in my time zone. It must be about 7:37 p.m. over there right now. So you're 1 hour behind me, but it's great to have another person in Asia joining. Peter says, I like the idea of a scientific approach to meditation, controlling variables. So do I, Peter. So what are the 9 attitudes? And I have them memorized because I've taught them so often. I've, besides teaching them, of course, I've applied them and to the point that it's just become second nature. I really haven't worked on memorizing them. And I guess I want to say that because it is not a list to memorize, right? These are qualities of life to be lived. And so, you'll notice one coming up, maybe you'll notice another, and then you start to remember, oh, hey, this is a time when I can practice non-judging. And so these are the 9 attitudes: non-judging, patience, beginner's mind, trust, non-striving, acceptance, letting go, gratitude, and generosity. And so all of those 9 attitudes, I go into a decent amount of depth, tell you some personal experience, give you a dedicated meditation about that particular attitude that you can work through. And they're all interrelated. And that's kind of how I wanted to start talking about today's topic, which is, I want to say, hi Suleiman, I see you there. And hi everybody, it's so great having you here today. The last time we talked about trust and trust's role in change. And trust starts with ourselves. Trust is one of those things that, it doesn't necessarily come naturally. It's something that takes time for us to build. It takes patience, another one of the 9 attitudes. But trust in ourselves is foundational to the change process. And partially because when we are changing, there has to be some kind of, we're letting go of this familiar thing. The topic today is letting go. And so we're letting go of this familiar thing and we're reaching out for this new thing. But the issue is that we're scared of what that new thing is. It's new. It's different. When I reach out, is it going to be there? Is it going to support me? Is it going to hold me like I hope it will? And so trust is a way for us to have that confidence, to know that when I let go, I'm not just going to hurtle across the void into nothingness, that there's going to be something there for me to grasp. And that's built on the trust that I have in myself, in my own inner voice. And if you take the 9 Attitudes course, I'd say trust is probably the one that's most personal for me. That when I built that lesson, that was the one that really brought back memories of using mindfulness to build trust in myself. And I don't know how, do you always need to go out and ask for the opinion of another person before you act? And this is something that, is it possible to rely on the innate inner wisdom that we all have? And that is really what trust is about. Logan says, I'm beginning to process significant trauma from my past while also holding space for others' pain. How do you prevent taking on others' suffering when you're still working through your own? What does healthy boundaries look like when you're both healer and wounded? Wow, this is a big question. I would say, and I think that this is this is kind of the core of a lot of the mindfulness training, is that, what do they say in the airplane? You shouldn't put on you don't help others with their oxygen mask until you have your oxygen mask fully secured. It's important to set boundaries well. And to do your best to protect yourself from the pain of others so it doesn't trigger you back into whatever traumatic state that you're in, that you have experienced. So it is having enough space, but another analogy is, if your glass is empty, how can you expect to be able to fill up the cups of others? And so it's that delicate balance of knowing and in fact making sure that you take very good care of yourself and that you are in a place of stability and having a good foundation before you start to try to take on the pain and suffering of others. And by the way, you can't take on the pain and suffering of others, right? You can work with people. You can observe their pain. You can empathize with their situation. You can offer compassion to them. But your absorption of their negative experiences is something that is separate from you and that you do not have to take it on. And this is actually where mindfulness is extremely helpful, is to be able to see that boundary clearly and to have that awareness. I mean, that really is the definition of mindfulness, is awareness. Is that helpful, Logan? So trust is part of the foundation of letting go, being able to trust ourselves enough to let go of those past comfortable things that aren't serving us anymore. Acceptance is also a very important foundation for letting go, because acceptance allows us to see where we are and to see clearly what it is that we're holding on to and what isn't serving us. And we can be able to say that with certainty and with clarity, that this thing that I see isn't serving me anymore. And I can recognize that instead of being in denial. And that's really, kind of if we're in denial, we won't be able to let go of the things that aren't serving us anymore, because we won't see that they're not serving us anymore, because we can't accept that they're not serving us anymore. So acceptance really is kind of this foundation and kind of a launching pad for letting go. Once we see clearly where we are, what's going on, then we can start to open that clinging that's happening, that we can open to release whatever it is that needs to be released. And this is the other thing is, when we release that thing that's not serving us, we're making space for the things that are. And there are only so many things you can hold on to. I mean, grasping and using hands as an analogy for grasping is a good one, because we only have so many mental hands to grab onto things with too. And so once our minds are full, and I've got a very busy spouse, and all of the things that she's thinking about, she ends up missing some of the simple things because she's so focused on the big picture. And that just shows that there are only so many mental hands that we have to grasp onto things. And so, there was a meditation, my second meditation retreat ever that I went on as an attendee. Someone asked the teacher, "How can I be more mindful in my daily life?" And the teacher paused for about 30 seconds, thought for a really long time, and finally answered, "Simplify your life." If we can simplify our lives, then there are so much fewer so far fewer things for us to need to worry about if our life is just simpler, and then so much less to grab onto. So letting go isn't giving up. Letting go is making space for whatever it is that is about to take shape. It's not losing control. It's releasing the illusion that we had control in the first place. So a lot of people may think of letting go as kind of a detachment or an apathy, because the way that we talk about the words that we use, letting go, may be kind of like a pushing away or denial, just trying to pretend that thing isn't there, when in fact letting go is the exact opposite of that. And acceptance is foundational and absolutely required for letting go to be able to happen. If we don't know what to let go of, how could we possibly let go of it? So it's staying connected without clinging. It's the opposite of this. And in fact, in the last two live events, this was something I had everyone do, and I'd love for you to try it if you'd like. So make a fist, hold tightly. Imagine there's something that's super valuable inside that you just want to grab onto. And now, with your fist closed, feel what that feels like. Like, put all of your awareness in your hand. I can feel my fingernails digging into my palm. I can feel, like, you can see my white knuckles. Like, it is really, really grasping tightly. And what that feels like. And then I'll just invite you to breathe in. And then as you exhale, slowly open your hand. And just notice what the relief of that action is like. So this is, a physical metaphor of what letting go is like. And we're going to do more as we get into the meditation part of today's session to experience letting go from a first-hand experience. So letting go doesn't mean that we stop caring. What it does mean is that we stop insisting things to be a certain way before we let ourselves have peace. And I think that also comes with perfectionism. Like, perfectionism means things have to be exactly like this before I can feel peaceful. So we hold so much. We hold on to so much. Our roles, our expectations for ourselves, our expectations for others, our expectations of the way things have to be, the stories that we've told ourselves, the stories we continue to tell ourselves, the outcomes. And then we believe. I mean, here's what, what's interesting is we sometimes feel identified with all of that stuff. And so we say, if I let go of this, who am I? Who do I have left? What? And I think, that's one of the issues. We do get caught up so much about that thing that's external to my core being. I am job title X, or I am a parent. I am, all of these things. What are we? What labels do we use for ourselves? And so letting go also helps to see things with a kind of clarity that only mindfulness can give. So mindfulness invites us to see grasping clearly, not to shame it, but to understand it completely. Okay. Logan says, I struggle with trusting myself. I've made a lot of really poor decisions that have led to causing significant harm to myself and others. I'm also autistic, so I know boundaries are a difficult area for me, and these things make it very difficult to trust my own judgment. Thanks, Logan, for sharing. Thanks so much. And this is a journey, right, of learning how to trust ourselves. And you know what? And this is, just notice the past tense. I've made a lot of really poor decisions that have led to causing significant harm to myself and others. And I just want to share with you, I know that story. I've made bad decisions as well. I've caused harm to myself and others around me through a lot of my bad decisions in the past. But that knowledge, letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It just means recognizing that thing isn't here anymore. It doesn't mean that the consequences aren't there. The others that we've harmed may, there's still maybe resentment. There may be things that need to be repaired inside the relationship. The consequences are there. But whatever has been done is already done. And it's not here any longer. And the sooner we can accept that, and I think in both of the last two sessions, we talked about grieving and how, and the process of grieving, the patience for what that's like, that it doesn't end. The letting go isn't a one-time occurrence. It's something that we have to practice doing more and more, and that includes difficult parts of our past that we maybe wish had not happened, that we have regrets about. Just know that you don't have to beat yourself up again and again over these same things. that you can let go and you can move on. And that is, letting go is really an important part of moving on. Thanks again, Logan, for sharing. Let's get into the meditation portion. So I just invite you to find a comfortable posture. Me, I'm sitting on the floor. If you're sitting in a chair, I would just encourage you to sit up straight. Bring your back away from the backrest, if that's possible for you. Feet flat on the floor. If you like, you can allow your eyes to close. Your hands could be resting on your knees or in your lap. And just checking in with yourself. Who's here? What version of you has arrived today? So noticing what this body feels like, what Earth's gravity feels like on your body. Pulling down, the chair pushing back. And so let me invite you now to bring your attention to your face. And just notice what the face feels like. Notice the muscles in the face. Is there any tension here today? Notice the jaw. Is there any tension in the jaw? And so notice that I'm not asking you to relax your face. If your face has tension, noticing the tension itself may help you to relax. Or your face is just tense, and trying to relax it may actually cause it to become even more tense. So can you welcome whatever is here? Can you accept this is the situation right now? This is what I am experiencing. This is what my face feels like in this moment. And then noticing the neck, the shoulders, maybe there's tension here. Just roll out the red carpet. Welcome whatever is showing up for you today. This is the first piece of letting go, is the welcoming, the acceptance. I mean, what does that word acceptance mean? What does it feel like to be accepted by another person? It's this kind of warm embrace. And you can practice acceptance even of the things that are challenging, because they're already here. There's no need to push them away. In fact, turning towards those difficult things, seeing them clearly with awareness, that's the first step to letting go. So, can you bring your attention now down to your abdomen? Maybe you can feel your abdomen expanding and contracting with each breath. Inhaling, feeling the abdomen stretch out. Feeling the skin on your stomach stretching a bit as you breathe in and your belly fills. And then as you breathe out, feeling it collapse back. Inhaling, inflating. Exhaling, deflating. It's almost like there's a little balloon in your belly. Expanding and contracting all the while as you breathe. Noticing this motion is constant. So can you open to observing the breath with beginner's mind, as if it were the first time that you ever noticed you were breathing, with curiosity? What does breathing feel like? How do I know that I'm breathing? Where in the body does the breath begin and end? Down beyond the abdomen, can we feel it somewhere in the pelvis? Up in the shoulders, can you feel your shoulders moving slightly? So it's amazing, if you haven't really looked at your body breathing, you may discover all kinds of new things. So just take a few moments to explore what the breath feels like in the body and where you can notice it, and maybe even where you can't notice it. And so feel free to begin to focus your attention onto one region, one small region where you notice the breath most apparently, most vividly. Perhaps somewhere near the navel. As best you can, allow your breath to hold your concentration, to concentrate on what it feels like to be breathing. So not just the concept of breathing, but really noticing that point on the body, maybe slightly above, slightly below the navel. Just feel that point moving as you breathe. And so if you think you don't know how to let go, all you have to do is look at your breath. Our bodies need oxygen. We breathe in so that oxygen can go throughout our bodies. But there's no way to get more air if you don't breathe out. And what are we breathing out? We breathe in. It's nourishing. It's energizing. It's new oxygen. It's new life. As we breathe out, we let go of those things that aren't serving us anymore, letting go of carbon dioxide, other waste products of metabolism. Inhaling, bringing in the new. Exhaling, letting go of what isn't serving us any longer. Thousands of times a day, we're practicing letting go. And guess what? Every time you fall asleep, that's letting go too. Every time we transition. Letting go of sitting down as we breathe into standing up. So let's spend another minute silently following the breath. And so now, let me just ask, has your mind wandered? Have you thought about anything else besides, focusing on the breath? That isn't thinking. It's just paying attention. So while you've been paying attention to your breath, has any thought arisen? Was there a thought that came with that thought? Why am I thinking? Did we follow the thought stream? What we can notice is that it happened. Accept it. This is where I am now. And in that moment of acceptance, it's like letting go becomes automatic. I'm no longer focused on my breath. I'm thinking about tomorrow's to-do list. Okay, let me release that and go back to focusing on my breathing. Oh, back to tomorrow's to-do list. Okay, release, come back to the breath. So not only is letting go happening, every few seconds with the breath. It may also be happening every few seconds with thoughts. So this is the process. Accepting this is where the mind went. Letting go, and then returning to concentration on the breath. Congratulations on making it through today's meditation practice. I'm going to close practice through with 3 rings of the bell. Thank you, everyone, for practicing with me today and being here for each other. It's my pleasure to host these sessions. If you haven't followed me before on Insight Timer, would be grateful if you would. As I thought about letting go of thoughts, which is funny because of that moment I wasn't focusing on my breath. I was thinking about saying what I'm about to say. In those moments when we're not meditating, I mean, this is really where the practice, where the rubber meets the road, when we're not sitting on our cushions meditating. And those times when we're feeling angry and trying to have a clear mind, that's something that we can do, is to focus on the breath, focus on the present moment, and notice when your mind is wandering away. This can help us to be more rational in those times when we feel like we're crippled by anxiety, just to recognize that thing that I'm anxious about isn't here right now. So I can be aware of it. I mean, that's what's interesting about awareness, is that thing, that emotion that we're having, the awareness of the emotion doesn't have the emotion, right? Does that make sense? Like, my awareness of anger isn't angry. My awareness of anger is just aware, it's like, oh, look at how angry I am, right? So we can see that, and through that awareness, start to slowly dissolve these unhelpful mind states, especially when we know we're acting irrationally. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I've walked into a situation and said, okay, don't say this. Like, this is going to make the situation worse. Don't say this. And then, wouldn't you know it, once my emotions take the reins, right? The emotions take the reins and they start driving, I say the thing that I didn't want to say, right? That I had the intention not to say, because I just couldn't be aware. I couldn't disengage in those moments. And I mean, I have to say, these days I'm a lot, now that I've been meditating for, well, it's getting close to 10 years now, been meditating every day. And I just feel like that's just helped so much in me having some intention to approach a situation in a certain way and then following through with it, not getting caught up in all of the emotions of what's there. So thanks so much, everybody. This was about letting go. I'm going to go ahead and post up again the card for the 9 Attitudes of Mindfulness. If you haven't taken this course, please give it a try. It's got a lot of good stuff in it, and I've really enjoyed participating with all of you who are taking the course and the classroom comments. It's just been a great way to expound on the teaching. So to have that additional supplemental material there has been so nice. Thanks, Mina. Thanks again for joining today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hey, Rachel. Great to see you. It's great to see all of you. So if any questions or comments, please, speak now or forever hold your peace. I'll just say hi to a few more people. Hi, Annie. Thanks for being here. Hello, Messenger of Love from Port Huron. Great to see you again. Hello, Robin. Hi, Joanne. All right. Let's... Thanks, T-Lady Nat. Let's close practice the way we do, with some well wishes to ourselves and well wishes to everyone that's here. So repeat after me if you feel like it. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone on this live event today, watching, listening, wherever they happen to be, may you all be happy and peaceful. And may all human beings, everyone, everywhere, no matter what the condition they're in at this moment, may all of us be happy and peaceful. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a lovely day or evening wherever you are. I hope everything goes well. I am going on a week-long silent meditation retreat, as I do every year. It's finally time for my annual retreat. So I'm heading to the Zen monastery on Thursday to sit in silence for a week. So wish me luck. And in the meantime, I won't be able to respond back to you. And my next live event will be when I return. So do take care. Hope to see you again soon. Until next time. Bye-bye.